Good afternoon, everybody. Happy hump day to you on this November 12th, 2025. I got all your stories for your rush hour ride home. Big updates coming from Washington, D.C. as new information from the Epstein files, new never-before-seen emails have come out, and I'm going to be sharing those with you at the very end of this episode. But first, we're going to get into Harry Potter, a big day for my Potterheads out there. I'll show you the cast member that's going to be on Broadway. Also, we'll be covering Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover and Ryan Reynolds. Justin Baldoni accusing Ryan of spying on him and his wife, and Blake Lively tried to get Colleen Hoover, who wrote It Ends With Us, to sue Justin Baldoni. What? Just when you think this case can't get any crazier, they drop craziness like that. So we'll get into all of those stories, plus whether or not we'll be getting that $2,000 check they promised us over the weekend. My guess is don't hold your breath. All this and more starts right now on The Rush. So we'll cover this on the back half of the episode, but look at this. Epstein emails. Trump spent hours with alleged victim at Epstein's house. White House is calling it BS. Listen. There's obviously something to this story. The fact that they haven't released the files, the fact that Trump has used the FBI to get his name removed, there's some shady stuff going on. I want us all to get to the bottom of it, and I think that's starting to happen. I honestly think we're living, and I know it's hard for some people to believe this, I think we're living in the moment where we crack one of the biggest conspiracy theories, or one of the biggest conspiracies of our government's history. And this isn't a good thing. It's a dark day, but at least justice is coming out. So I'll have more on that towards the end of the episode. But where my Potterhead's at, Tom Felton goes on Broadway. Crowd goes nuts for stage debut as Draco Malfoy. Now, if you're like my wife, you're obsessed with Harry Potter, and I mean obsessed. Our Christmas is essentially Harry Potter and some holly, It's just all my whole Christmas tree is Harry Potter at this point. But when you love somebody and you find out what they love, you start loving what they love because you have to, right? That's what you sign up for. And speaking of this, I can tell you this dude is popular. Here's the moment he hit the stage and he got like a 45-second applause break. Have a listen to this.
I know you don't like him, but he's all I need.
And he goes on and literally a 40-second applause break. Now listen, this is a good day for Harry Potter fans out there. This is wild. We bought tickets to see this on Broadway, and I think it took my wife like 7 hours waiting in line to buy the tickets. God knows they were expensive. Inflation, these Harry Potter tickets are making us broke. Either way, I look forward. I'm not going, my wife's going, but I look forward to seeing her have her dreams met as she gets to see Tom Felton on Broadway. Wouldn't it be nice if they can get some of the other cast to show up? Anyhow, let's move it on from there. So we've got some wild updates in Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively. Wild. Not the weirdo Ryan Reynolds spying on Baldoni and his wife Emily. So here are some interesting text messages that are coming out. They were confidential. They've been unsealed here. So here we have Melissa from the PR company, Jennifer and Melissa there. She says, checking my room for cameras. And Baldoni says, in other news, Ryan Reynolds unblocked me and Emily, his wife, so he could spy on us. She had a feeling and checked, and she could see his name, and then I checked, and I could search him as well. I couldn't search him a week ago. I've only blocked like 2 people in my life. Blocking to me, it's like, and I get it. It's like, if you don't want to have someone else in your ecosystem, you just get rid of them. Like, I understand that, whatever. But the tricks that crazy people use to block, then unblock and spy and have a secondary account. I mean, look, maybe you guys have your burner accounts. I don't know. It seems like a lot. It seems like a lot of bandwidth for someone who should have other things going on in their life, right? I mean, anyhow, what do I know? So there's a lot more to get into regarding this story here. How about this? Blake Lively attempted to persuade Colleen Hoover to sue Justin Baldoni. Hoover testified she has no intention to sue. So we're going to dive into a lot of this today. My question about the spying part. Now, they use spying kind of flippantly here. You know, if you're on social media and you post things, anyone can look at it. Is it technically spying? No, spying would be if Ryan Reynolds hired somebody to go into their DMs or into their bathrooms, right? That would be spying. But either way, there is definitely information gathering happening from Ryan's side. It's just so petty and wild to think that they could do this. So what we're learning by Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover and their friendship that came out of this is that it looks as though, from what we've seen, Colleen Hoover stabbed Justin Baldoni in the back. Blake Lively wanted Colleen Hoover to really go for the jugular. Colleen Hoover testifies that she has no intention to sue. Without a Crystal Ball always does fantastic work. And she covered this saying, new unsealed documents reveal that Blake Lively pressured the women who worked on It Ends With Us to get them to sue Justin Baldoni. As a way for Lively to withhold evidence in her lawsuit against Wayfair, Lively has attempted to block her communication with Colleen Hoover under common interest privilege. In her complaint, she alleges there were multiple women willing to come forward to accuse Baldoni and others of sexual harassment. Records show this pressure did not work. Under oath, Colleen Hoover testified that she has no interest or plans to sue Wayfair for anything. Wayfair also exposed that Blake Lively destroyed evidence and manufactured evidence of her 30-point list contained in her complaint. The list was supposed to be the alleged sexual harassment she experienced on set. Metadata from Discovery reveals that Blake Lively created a 30-point list on July 25th, 2025. This means the list never existed, and she created it 7 months after filing a lawsuit against Baldoni. I think without a crystal ball here meant July 25th, 2024. Either way, with Hoover refusing to sue, manufacturing evidence, and promising cast a sequel if they supported her, the case is falling apart fast. This is an epic bit of karma, and I'm here for it. Very fascinating stuff. So Blake wanted to promise the crew, like, stand by me. When there's a sequel, we'll make sure you get in it. And again, we're piecing a lot of this together as we figure it all out, but it's just wild stuff. Now we're finding out that Sony's CEO had to get involved. I'll share this story with you after a quick word from our sponsor. Most holiday gifts end up in a drawer or the back of your closet or accidentally left at your cousin's house. Not this one. Mint Mobile is offering unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. That's their best deal of the year. It's the only holiday gift you'll actually use every single day. That's why I'm with Mint. You get a 3, 6, or 12-month unlimited plan for $15 a month. You can bring your current phone and number over to Mint, get high-speed data, unlimited text and talk on the nation's largest 5G network. So don't get them socks, get them premium wireless for $15 a month. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/TRH. That's mintmobile.com/TRH. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $95 for 6, or $180 for a 12-month plan. Required $15 a month. Equivalent taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. The comment section is hilarious. Before we get into the Sony bit, here's a comment. It's funny that people didn't realize Blake wanted to muzzle Brian Friedman. He initially came out and people said he was cocky, arrogant, borderline insolent. He said they were going to sue her into oblivion, and he meant it because he knew the facts. It was only a matter of putting them together coherently to allow the law to work in their favor. On the TMZ interview, he said the only way to win is to take this case to trial so Justin can work again. Blake Lively has ruined two men's reputations in the public eye with her lies. She deserves everything coming to her. Folks, when I say this, there is not enough time or bandwidth in the day to cover all of these new documents coming out. But if you guys want, I'll try to make a longer video this week. Just let me know. Hit the subscribe button, and if we get any bump in new subscribers, we'll try to cover it in a longer form. So here we have Jen Abel speaking with her PR people. Melissa Nathan says, apparently Tom Rothman is speaking to Leslie to get Blake to cut the shit. I think we can get through this if we just get that NYP piece killed and Leslie agrees to a truce. So at this part, they thought they could just like not have to deal with, they thought, all right, we'll get over this. And little did they know there were big lawsuits brewing. So Melissa says, Jen, we can get through anything. Now they're going to get through it. It's just going to take a lot. But the fact that the Sony CEO got involved, here's what Katie had to say. Sony Pictures CEO Tom Rothman was forced to intervene on August 9th after Blake began leaking stories to The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Daily Mail, and New York Post. Guess how many stories Baldoni and Wayfarer leaked? 0. Sony only had to ask Justin to revise his public talking points for interviews. They asked Justin not to use the word friction to describe any issues on the set. Jen Abel got them to agree to let Justin reference the challenges of bringing so many people together to make a beautiful film. So it was Blake that got yelled at by the CEO of Sony for leaking and smearing Justin, and it's all but confirmed that the above outlets are 100% shilling for Blake and Ryan. All right, so essentially, Ryan Reynolds is spying on Justin Baldoni and his wife, through the blocking and unblocking on Instagram. Blake Lively is trying to get Colleen Hoover to sue Justin Baldoni, and Sony's telling Blake to chill out. It's not going to take a jury too much energy to figure out who's the problem in all of this. This is wild stuff, folks. There's so much more to get into that we're just going to have to wait. I've literally got no voice. You understand? I'm drinking nothing but honey and tea and throat-numbing spray to get through this. So please forgive me. That's all I've got for you for right now. But we will have updates in the morning. I think our next update to the Blake Lively stuff is catching her in more lies revolving around the tattoo scandal. I mean, there's just too much. It's drinking water out of a geyser at this point. Let's go into the tariffs and these $2,000 checks we've all been promised. Have you guys cashed your $2,000 check yet? I'm waiting to cash my $5,000 Doge check. You guys might remember Doge was supposed to save us trillions of dollars. In the end, they ended up cutting hundreds of I think, what did they get into the billions of, how much did they cut? Either way, not nearly as much as they were supposed to. And it didn't really do anything to Americans because they ended up cutting taxes on the ultra wealthy. So it was insignificant. Well, now that they're bringing in all of this tariff money, which they're not, they're telling us they're going to give us $2,000 checks. I summarized it like this before. It's like having a dad who's kind of like a deadbeat, and he's like, I'm going to take you to the Red Sox game this year. And you're like, yeah, Dad, great. And then in the back of your head, you're like, Dad, you've been saying this for 10 years in a row. No one believes you. You're a degenerate. We love you, but get your life together. That's what it feels like listening to the government right now. Have a listen.
We should not be counting on $2,000 checks from the president next year. I don't think it's any secret that the president really liked the rebate checks that went out during his first term. Back then, at the height of COVID, when we passed a $1,500 tax rebate and $500 for children, that cost $292 billion. If you want to do $2,000 for everybody now, it's going to cost upwards of $450 billion. And it's a rebate check because we're all paying the tariffs. And just for reference, the tariffs have brought in $89 billion under the IEEPA statute this year. Neither the tariffs will pay for this, nor will anything else, unless you want to raise taxes elsewhere. So it's a non-starter of an idea. I think we should expect the president to include it in his fiscal year 26 budget, which will come in February. We should not be counting on $2,000.
Oh, what a buzzkill, huh? We're all trying to get our $2,000 checks before Christmas, and you're here telling us we don't have the money to do it. Boo. Now, of course, I did not hold my breath on these $2,000 checks. I wish everyone could have, like I interviewed Mike Cortese this morning on the morning episode of The Rush. If you didn't check it out, please go do. We did our first live conversation here. He's running to be District 5 in the House of Representatives in Tennessee here. And we just talked about how expensive it is to live in today's world. The price of everything has gone up except how much money we all bring in. So this idea that they're going to solve a problem, even if they did give a $2,000 check, that's like putting a fire out with by spitting on it, right? There's such bigger issues at hand, and $2,000 ain't going to cut it. But what it really shows is that the government understands they're failing us. To a degree, they understand that people are in a lot of problems, and they're trying to dangle this carrot like it's going to solve anything. I don't know anybody. I truly don't. I mean, you see people online, but I don't know one person that's a human in real life that thinks that the country's doing well. I have a listen.
And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to.
And again, as everyone says, this is just not going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. All right, let's move it on. This is a bombshell story. This came out this morning, so there's still a lot to sort of go through here, but it's wild. Breaking news. The House Oversight Democrats released never-before-seen Epstein emails. Trump was mentioned multiple times. Does this implicate Trump? Well, you tell me. Have a listen.
Breaking news rocking Washington, D.C.
Okay, we got to talk about the
breaking news rocking Washington, D.C. Never before seen emails released this morning by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, raising new questions about President Trump's relationship with convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The emails provided to Congress by the Epstein estate show private correspondence between Epstein and his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell and between Epstein and author Michael Wolff, with multiple references to Trump, all raising more questions about what Trump knew and when. Epstein writing in a 2011 email to Maxwell that Trump, quote, spent hours at his house with a sex trafficking victim. Epstein calls Trump in this email a, quote, dog that hasn't barked.
All right, so then my question is, what is a dog that hasn't barked? Does he mean that Trump knows things and he hasn't snitched? Seems pretty obvious to me. Now, of course, the White House is going to deny that there was any wrongdoing. And, you know, the talking point is when Trump found out that Epstein was a bad guy, he kicked him out, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, in the past, I think this one email alone would be enough to sink somebody. I don't think this is going to be enough to sink Trump. But I have to say this, anybody who's in office that is not voting for the complete and transparent release of the Epstein files is defending and is providing cover for a pedophile conspiracy. Plain and simple. Whether Trump had something to do with it or it's just super inopportune that he's somehow sucked into it, plenty of high, powerful people did have a lot to do with it. And we can't trust anybody, an oversight committee or anybody else, to just trickle this information out. Obviously, redact the victims' names. You got to do all of that. But what's happening, if you haven't been covering, is the oversight committee this is not the same as releasing the full Epstein files. What they're trying to do right now, and Gravalda, who will be sworn in today, she is the, I believe, 218th vote. They'll have enough votes to bring it to the floor to then vote on releasing the Epstein files. So it's been a long journey, very slow. Mike Johnson has literally kept the House of Representatives from working, in part to keep this vote from happening. They could only delay it for so long, and now it's all coming to fruition. So the question I have, and so many others have, is at what point do people stop covering for whoever's in these Epstein files? And at what point, I mean, at this rate, as far as I'm concerned, they're already complicit, but this idea that they're keeping the Epstein files from the public because they don't want to, trigger any victims is hogwash. And obviously that's not why they're doing it.
We should note it's not clear what exactly Epstein meant by those comments. Let's bring in MSNBC Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Delanian. Ken, take us through what these emails say and their significance.
Good morning, Anna. Well, the one you just read is perhaps the most important one because it was written by Jeffrey Epstein in 2011, long before Donald Trump's political career. And he used the phrase, the dog that hasn't barked. That's a phrase from a Sherlock Holmes story suggesting a clue. And he says that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted name of a victim, spent hours at my house with him. He's never once been mentioned. And then he uses the phrase police chief, etc. So these emails essentially what they do is they raise new questions about Donald Trump's longstanding contention that he had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's massive sex trafficking operation. These emails suggest that they don't suggest that Donald Trump was part of it. They suggest, though, that he may have known about it. There was another email written years later to Michael Wolff, the author, from Jeffrey Epstein. And the context here appears to be about Jeffrey Epstein being kicked out of the Mar-a-Lago golf club. Epstein says, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never remember ever. And then he adds, of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. And then the third email is between.
And I should say that probably is in reference to Epstein hiring girls from Trump's spa, but it could mean something more nefarious there. And what does this say about Wolff, the journalist, the author here? Is he complicit by knowing all of this and sitting on it?
Wolff and Epstein, and it's about Wolff telling Epstein that he believes that Trump will be asked in an interview. This is in 2015 as he's running for president, about his relationship with Epstein. And Epstein asked Wolff, if I were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? Now, that, of course, suggests that Epstein would be in communication with Trump and would be helping him craft an answer to a media question. And then Wolff answers, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. So again, that suggests that Wolff and Epstein believe that Trump was more involved or has more knowledge of Epstein's operation than he was letting on. Again, none of this is definitive, but this adds to the picture and adds to the questions that both Republicans and Democrats have about what exactly Donald Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his sex trafficking of both minors and non-minors.
All right, listen, I think this is insane. Now, you could look at this in one way. The White House is saying this proves that Trump had nothing to do with it. But Trump claims like he had cut Epstein out years ago. And here we have Epstein discussing with this author their strategy leading up to Trump's first campaign for president. I don't know. At this stage, it's one of many issues we have with the administration, with the government, with America, really. But if, and this is what I said this morning with my interview with Mike, if people want to seize on all of this disruption that's going on in our country, the conspiracies that are floating around, the bad economy, the middle class shrinking, if people want to seize on this, Democrats need to have people in leadership positions that provide a solution to all of this, that can attract those that sought MAGA for whatever reason years ago and provide a home for them. And I don't know how that's going to look, but it's kind of like a power vacuum happening right now. And I'm hoping people with good ideas that want to fight for the economy, that want to fight for the middle class, and that have the ability to communicate what those ideas are, I hope that they emerge from all of this because the American people deserve it. All right, we'll be back in the morning. I'm going to go rest my voice, although I do have a show tonight if you want to hear the remainder of my voice in Columbia, Tennessee, which I don't think I've ever been to Columbia, but I've got a show there at 7 p.m. Details on my Instagram if you want to come laugh at some jokes. Otherwise, I'll see you in the morning. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.